All right, my friends, we're going to move on from Simon Sinek's amazing Start With Why, and we're going to move to Gary Bencivenga. And the point that I want you to take away from Gary's amazing work is the educational sales page. There's probably several things I could use to draw from Gary. Okay, he's fairly well known for his marketing bullets, and it's very interesting if you follow his career. For the most part, I think that his fame comes from him publicizing himself very, very well. And that says a lot about a copywriter, that he knows marketing and PR. He does write excellent copy as well. One of the main things, a secondary thing that I can reveal that is not really a part of this chart, is he works a lot with some of the interesting neuromarketing words. Like the word because. I learned why from him. Because works so well in all of his testing, because it's a bridge word between two ideas. He gets into a lot of that stuff, so he's got quite a bit of neuromarketing stuff with his material. But what I want you to take into your persuasion mastery is the educational sales page. Let's go over there and take a look at what he means by the educational sales page, because it's really, really powerful. I've been testing this recently. So let's go down to number 9. Now, I've given this an 8 to 10 because I believe that what I'm about to show you with his work is extremely timely right now. So the idea is really simple. It's the educational sales page. And for the last few years of his career, he's been using this as one of the primary methods. And I think it speaks very well to the transition of consciousness and expectation on the internet, which is that we're inundated with so much information that we actually have to start educating while we're selling. And it seems like a common idea. In fact, in some ways, that's really what blogging is really about. You know, and we talk about the golden frame in the curation course, where pretty much, you know, you shouldn't waste the perimeter of the frame of your blog or blogs on AdWords, or AdSense rather, AdSense revenue, when you can drive them to your own products and services. So this is called the golden frame effect. And so really the blog itself is the educational material. You're giving something away, and we're going to talk more about that in my method at the bottom here called Interesting But Incomplete. So this was created by Gary. And you can go to marketingbullets.com, and I've also got a notation here about how similar this is to my work on interestingbutincomplete.com, which we're going to talk about here on the last type of persuasion architecture. Okay, I left myself until last. Let's go take a look at where you can use this type of stuff. Sales page, internet traffic, and blog posts. Okay, I'm also going to add magazine full page ads. Okay, you've probably seen those in popular mechanics or anything else like that. When you look in the magazine, and it gives you a whole giant education. Okay, blog posts, full page ads, sales pages. There's probably Kindle books, can be a pre-sale mechanism. There's a lot of things like this. Okay, so what this whole concept here is make your page valuable all by itself. Reposition as content, don't just pitch. So now what I'm doing is I'm always adding valuable content in and of itself. Let me give you an example here. Here's one of my sales pages where I give the headline and the video, and I give a whole bunch of pitch stuff here and some testimonials. But I also give video proof, but also in this video is some pretty powerful information on how to check your RSS traffic right inside your Google Analytics. And that information really should have been left for the course, except that I wanted to provide valuable information in and of itself. Now that's a really super micro version of using Gary's type of idea, but I could have given a whole video lesson with all kinds of text right here showing them exactly how to go and check their Google Analytics file to find that they don't have any RSS traffic and that they really should, and that can get them thinking. So you really have to couch that educational stuff with interesting information that may lead to the sale. Otherwise, you're interesting and complete. And we're going to talk about that again. That's my work on interesting but incomplete, which we're getting to here shortly. So that's really what we're talking about here. So reposition your sales video to be valuable all by itself as content. I'm a firm believer in taking that whole sales page idea that he had, and he's never talked about it in videos, but it's the same for videos. Okay, reposition your sales video to be both valuable all in and of itself as content. This is why webinars work so well. So this is really a webinar model, isn't it? Okay. So here's my comment on his. It is okay to tell people what to do, but sell how to do it. For example, we've made pretty good money doing videos that teach people how to do website silo architecture all by themselves. We have a course that's a do-it-yourself website silo architecture using free WordPress plugins. People buy that, and that's how they get started, and they find out how much of a pain in the butt it is to do that all the time, especially when they're building a large empire. And then pretty soon they want to start automating that stuff. We also do it with themes, Zoom, and Kraken. I show people how to do the research for a single word inside Kraken, and it takes them about an hour and a half to do one word, and you can pull back like 100 words in 5 minutes with our software. So that's an example. Also, phase 4, don't make content without a congruent product to sell. Don't create content for just no reason. What I like about Gary's idea here is you're walking backwards from the product to useful and interesting information, instead of just, when a blogger gets up in the morning and walks over to the desk, and I watch this with people surrounding me in my company, is they don't always necessarily, and some clients, they don't necessarily know what they're blogging. Like, they'll go to the inbox and they'll get in a conversation with somebody on Facebook, and then they'll get all excited. This is especially true in markets that are very socially congruent. Or if you go to Facebook and there's a lot of health and wellness thing like poison this, toxic that, and look what's in the toxic foods and all this kind of stuff. I've seen some bloggers just get all excited about that, and then they go off on a blog post. And by the time I get to them, they spent 3 hours writing about something that really they don't have a direct product to sell about it. Now, that's great social contribution. That's great information. That can position you as a subject matter expert, but that should only be about 5% of the time, or at least 80-20, 20% of the time. 80% of the time you should be writing and positioning content and sales letters with information that's related to why they should buy your painkiller. It's a major takeaway, you guys. Okay, I really want you to understand that, because this is a major problem. Writing about stuff that's not related to products that you have for sale more than 20% of the time is a huge bad idea. Okay, so write that one down. That's actually really, really huge. So thanks for Ben. That was a really amazing tip, and one that I recommend that you use. Now, no list of persuaders would be complete without Frank Kern. Okay, hopefully you know who he is. He's a really interesting cat. I've had the opportunity of hanging out with him a little bit in the early internet marketing years, my early theme Zoom days. And his stuff is pretty straightforward, actually. He's really good at what he does, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about one of his major methods that I think you'll find interesting. Let's go back to the spreadsheet here, and I think he's going to be down somewhere on number 9. Actually, he's number 10. Okay, let me see if I can pull him up here. I'm going to have to shrink this screen just a little bit. Okay. I give Frank, on this particular method, a 6 to 9 in the hot cognition lethality level. That means the dopamine matrix. He's had a lot of stuff up there that didn't float my boat as much, but most of his stuff's really, really good. And when he got it, he's really focused on webinars, uses a lot of that stuff, and he's a legend that people actually start using his name to sell stuff now everywhere. And so he's all over Facebook and these types of things. This is an extremely powerful model that I'm about to show you of Frank's, especially when used in compensation models, business opportunity, and internet marketing. But the truth is that you can actually use it anywhere. The thing is that you really have to take the time to do it. And I'm going to give you a really great example as well of how you would use this model to create what's called kitchen table logic aha moments. I call this the brain dead compensation plan, aha prize. Okay, so internet marketing or multi-level marketing companies have to provide easy compensation things. So this has been used a lot in the multi-level marketing industry. Okay, you can go to Frank Kern at frankkern.com if you want to visit him. This is great for sales page, webinar, internet, blog, video sales letter. I'm going to call this also lifestyle marketing copy and videos. Okay, so there's all kinds of ways that you can use this. You can also use it for editorials, but I'm going to leave that one out for it gets a little more complicated. So that's fine. But the kitchen table logic is simply, the goal is to create a logical aha moment, like the aha moment when the church finally succumbed that the earth was round, not flat, because mountains would rise out of the horizon on a curve. Okay, an aha moment is literally a eureka moment where the evidence is so tangible but so simple that everybody can understand it, and that's how finally the battle against stupidity was won with the spherical planet. Okay, it was an argument that was so compelling and so basic that everybody could understand. Like, and, it's almost like the emperor has no clothes kind of thing. There's maybe a little bit of science, a little bit of 2 + 2, like every basic kitchen table logic. Anybody could draw a simple diagram with stick figures and prove this. An example of that idea is like, some guy walking out in the middle of the court, when they were arguing about the earth being flat, everybody believed that was their bias. And they just said, well, wait a second. If the earth was flat, would the mountains, why did the mountains rise out of the horizon? Wouldn't they, be flat and you wouldn't be able to see? So this is the kind of thing everybody goes, oh crap, you're right. That's what you're looking for. Frank loves to use those. So prove it to them with logic on the reframe. Keep the math super simple if you're going to use it. Models like leverage and force multiplier math and MLM is super basic but shows exponential growth. People will tend to have an aha moment and want to believe. A common method used when you multiply small passive income from one website to many, many sites. You'll see a lot of videos out there with a lot of software tools kind of like ours, that if you have one website and it makes you $5 a day, what will happen if you have 20 websites and they make you $5 a day? And then what if you have 100 websites and they're all automated, make you 10, and you do this super easy kitchen table math, and people go, wow, they start to get hungry for automation or a multiplication of leverage and force multipliers. That's kitchen table. That's kitchen table logic. Okay. So what it does is it creates a positive expectancy. After that aha moment, they will believe that it could work for them, which is very important because we're going to cover on the next one. In the next couple of one, we're going to go over Mike Long's methodology, and that's extremely key. So you got to show them some basic numbers, but you don't want them to lose that hot cognition that we talked about earlier in Pitch Anything on number 1. Okay, you don't want them to start getting into, well, yes, but if the compensation plan was 1% of the power bonus divided by the number of people in your downline, as soon as you get that, when you get to that wake me when the data is over phase, you're going to lose people, and it's no longer kitchen table logic. Okay, it's got to be really easy aha moments, and when you find those really easy aha moments, entire books could probably be made out of those moments. Okay, Daniel Pink is really good at finding those aha moments. In fact, his book Drive takes one single idea found in the neuroscientists and beats it to death in a really long book called Drive. And this is good because aha moments lead to things that connect to other aha moments. Okay, so that's really important, and that's Frank Kern stuff. Okay. Then we're going to move on to number 11, Mr. John Carlton. You can find him at carltoncoaching.org or .com. John's been around for a long time, and he has some really interesting stuff. He's got a really super simple method. Let's just go down to 11. Okay. Quick, dirty, effective, but not in all circumstances. I gave it a 5 to 8 on the hot cognition dopamine scale, the lethality level. Doesn't cover everything you need, but it's a nice, quick and dirty when you don't have a lot of time. Okay, you can visit him at carltoncoaching.com. You can use this in any medium. Here's what I got. Here's what this is going to do for you. And here's what I want you to do next. You know what I love about this? This is almost like the irresistible offer. What are you selling? Here's what I got. What's in it for me? Okay, that's number 3 in Irresistible Offer by Mark Jorner. And why should I believe you? Okay, what are you selling? How much does it cost? And why should I believe you? What I like about John Carlton is he just cuts right straight to the chase. It says, what I want you to do is opt in below. What I want you to do is click that buy button and buy this $4.95 version of this product that's normally $49.95. I'm going to do this for you. I mean, he really goes for it. And John's perspective is, if people don't do the thing he asks after he reveals the painkiller, then they probably weren't going to do it anyways. Okay, so he kind of leaves it all on the table there and just gives you a great deal. And he's really into the guarantee as well. So this works a lot better when you have a really super compelling guarantee, very similar to what Dr. Glenn Livingston recommends. Dr. Glenn Livingston is really big on absolute guarantees. He argues with a lot of people on it. He says if your product's not good enough for that, then you really might want to question what it is that you're doing. The numbers that he has for the guarantee are so compelling. that he's found there's almost no cases where the guarantee ended up being any risk at all, because so much money is made in that. And I would say yes and no, it depends. I certainly understand what he's saying, but John Carlton's method works really well when you have an absolute ironclad guarantee. Okay? Now we're going to move on to my friend Mike Loong. You've probably heard of Mike Loong. He's kind of the mystery guy behind, he was actually really significantly behind the launch of StomperNet. I don't know if you remember StomperNet, but it was this major launch that made literally millions of dollars. And this is Andy Jenkins, this is my friend Jerry West, this is my friend David Bullock, all these guys that we used to hang out with. It's a huge launch, okay? And he was one of the guys behind it. He and Dave and some other friends of mine, and so this was really at a time where very little of the money made in the initial launch of StomperNet had anything to do with SEO, but SEO is what was being sold. Later on, Mike launched a bunch of other different things, including Google Slayer and other things that I was watching as he did it. We're working with him right now on some things, but what I wanted you to take away from Mike's stuff, let's go over to the grid again. The main thing that I learned from Mike, okay, it seems really obvious. Let me just get this. But it's not so much. It's the easiest thing to forget. I really have had to learn this, okay? You can visit Mike at omgmachines.com. Is the one thing that I think a lot of people forget to ask that he does incredibly well. In fact, that's what allowed StomperNet and other things to really launch to the degree that they did, is that he never forgot the basic. And I watched a video with him in it that has been really inspiring and really helpful for me because I have not done it enough. And it's a reminder that people simply ask somewhere in their mind, in their unconscious, the most important underlying thing that they're asking whenever they're thinking about buying something is, will this work for me? Okay, and that's really, it seems like really basic, but it's not just, I can see over here that I put, lifestyle marketing and stuff like that, but it's not just that. It's actually everywhere. Okay, any medium, you can use this in any medium where a testimonial, even an implication of a testimonial can be used. There's all kinds of ways to use testimonials. You can tweet them, you can put them on Facebook, you can provide all kinds of testimony. And the bottom line is that testimony combined with the kitchen table logic that of Frank Kern that we just talked about before. I've watched my conversion rates go up at least 50% when I have testimonials in locations and places where I don't normally. It's because people are much more compelled by your idea. Okay, it's almost as powerful as a risk-free offer or a guarantee. Okay, and if you use all of those together, you're becoming an unstoppable force. Okay, and so this is really what I wanted to point out with Mike Loong's thing. And he teaches a lot of other things. I don't want to limit him to just that because there's a lot of stuff going on. But the thing that he does so incredibly well is testimonial proof, and just proof that somebody else can do that and that this will work for you. You can use this in any medium where you can do that. Okay, where you can persuade someone into seeing with undeniable proof that this is going to work for you. Okay, and so I've added a phase one. The bottom line is that every prospect is going to ask the only question that matters. I'm trying to quote Mike in one of his videos. Will this work for me? If you can't answer that with absolute overwhelming proof, they will probably not buy. So provide this testimonial proof. If you look at Mike's website, he combines a lot of the different stories, like the one that we talked about above from Tobias and the 21 master plots, the hero's journey. If you look at OMG Machines right now, you'll find out that it's the common guy. He always has the common hero. In this case, on OMG Machines, it's Greg Morrison, who runs the web development stuff, okay, from the rags to riches story, the hero's journey. So Mike does a lot of that kind of storytelling, but he provides, this will work for me. That's the main takeaway I want you to have with him, okay? Okay, and last but not least, after Mike Loong, we're going to move to myself, okay? I'm going to talk to you about my method, and this is called Interesting but Incomplete, okay? And it actually encompasses all of these things that you've just seen. And interesting but incomplete is important for so many reasons. It's a product of my neuromarketing background as well as my study in neuroscience, and specifically my prolific research and writing into the area of dopamine, which is one of my side passions. So we're going to go back over to the sheet, and I'm going to show you a little bit about what this is about. Now keep in mind, you can always visit this information at interestingbutincomplete.com. So the gist of this is that subject matter experts, let me just get this subject matter expert. It's one of my quotes. You should keep your content interesting but incomplete in the right places. And we're going to go over this whole chart. So you want to keep your best and the most valuable information paid. Okay, that's the main thing I want you to see there, is the paid. You want to keep paid. So this is what you call premium. So premium content. I'm really interested in that. That's what you call content locking. Okay, let's go ahead and put this content locking. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and go to the interestingbutincomplete.com chart, and we're actually going to get into this a little bit. I might have to change the size. Okay. So the reason I created this chart is because I wanted to communicate to my subject matter expert students, and I have a lot of students who are subject matter experts, but I also wanted to speak to students, I wanted to speak to people who were not subject matter experts, who more like AdWords and AdSense, you know, they're making money through ad revenue. So what I've done is I've created a chart that deals with the expert consulting model up here on the top. Okay, in the kind of environment, let me just get rid of that. The kind of environment where you want to keep your content locked or interesting but incomplete, okay, you can see some of the things that I put here. Blog posts, okay, sneak peek. In DAP, when we're making a blog post, we have a special code we can use. We can have the first part of our content on the blog inside. Okay, the first part of our content should be on the outside, sorry, to the public. And then at a certain point, when it gets to the cliffhanger, where we're about to give the 3 most important things out of the list of 10 things that you need to know in order to make money online or whatever, we lock the rest of them and leave the most important one behind a firewall. Okay, this is the cliffhanger expert YouTube video series. You know who's really good at that? At the cliffhanger expert YouTube video series was the Experts Academy guy. Okay, he was very, very good at Brennan Richard. He was very good at creating what he called the video ATM. He give you a whole bunch of YouTube videos, okay, and then the last 2 he would lock down, or at least require an email. Now there are other ways of doing this that are far more costly, like the coach's coach Eric Dombach uses the silver bullet model, and that's a free consultation of 10 minutes, and then the rest are like $1,000, and that free consultation gets you a lot of leads. I like to avoid that method, but I don't like to give that away for free. But I will. For what I do is I create a major discount for recurring memberships of my other softwares for coaching and consulting. So instead of charging them $500 an hour, I will charge them $200 an hour if they're a Network Empire member. Okay. Then there's things like autoresponder series. Autoresponder series are still kind of a cliffhanger reaction. Okay. I still wouldn't give your best information away, even an autoresponder. If you want to give great tips, delay them over time. Okay. Now, what I wanted to point out here is that all of this that I'm talking about comes from the center. Okay, this is the center, which is the 3 I's, triple I. Insightful, informative, and intriguing. And if I were to make this chart again, I would point out that intriguing is the most important one to get people's attention. Okay, it's very good when you're trying to get people's attention. Okay, so these things that I just discussed here is as insightful. Okay, expert advice, expert opinion, unexpected solutions, consulting, meaning making, that is huge insight. Now we talk about meaning making in our curation course. Curation is really about making new meaning and adding your own insight, perspective, so on and so forth. So this is the stuff that I'm talking about going into the incomplete on this chart. So these are the things that I'm suggesting using for insight. Insight is the most valuable content, guys and gals. It's the most valuable, and people give way too much of it away. It should be 80-20. 20% at the very, very most given away, 80% locked, content locked. Okay, informative is useful facts, useful statistics, useful percentages, like that kitchen table logic can be done with useful statistics, useful data. Okay, and then incomplete, white paper, free report, email, autoresponder series, cliffhanger, same thing. And then intriguing is interesting, interruptive, distinct, click addiction, novelty, memes I should have put on here. Okay, memes can be complete, actually. So they click addictive is really what I meant by memes. And they can come down here onto the complete model. Now notice that what I have down here on the complete model is very different than expert consulting model. Let's see if I can pull it up for you all the way here. Looks like I'm going to have to make this smaller in order to do this. Okay, this is the online monetization model. Okay, so at the top you have the expert consulting model, at the bottom you have the online monetization model, and people get these confused. A lot of experts treat their business as if they're eHow, okay, which is give a ton of content away, give 80% of their content away, and bury or content lock or charge for or make premium 20%, and it's got to be the other way around. So that's the reason that we made this chart. So memes, for example, can be complete. So we have interesting but incomplete at the top, but we have complete down here. So memes, click addiction can come down here. Informative, complete. If you're in the monetization model, you've got to give a lot more content away, and that's when you get into the content automation kind of things. Okay, and that's very important to know the difference between how that works. You can see this entire chart because it should actually give you a roadmap out of the darkness. It really should, because if you're an expert consultant, you're going to want to change your business model to lock down at least 80% of this stuff on the expert consulting model. Okay, if you're in the monetization model, or you're focused on the you're focused on earning AdSense revenue, or maybe you're in CPA and the rest, at that point you're going to want to focus on, you got to do a lot more content to make money, and you have to give a lot more of that content away, or else you got to dump a lot of money into AdWords, okay, or Facebook ads, okay, or maybe all of the above. Point is that when you're dependent upon ad revenue and you're emulating companies like eHow that are owned by billion-dollar companies like Demand Media, you've got to start producing a lot of content. And if you're an expert and you start commoditizing your content and not content locking it, you're going to lose a ton of money. Okay, and this is the takeaway I want you to have from this talk. Okay, that's what I have to offer you, and your videos should be exactly the same thing. You follow the video ATM method taught by Brendan Richard. You follow the video sandwich method and educational methods that we're going to be showing you in the next module, and you're going to be great, because people are just going to be hungering for more. They're going to jump into your email, they're going to get your video, they're going to want to have the next thing, and they're going to buy from you because you're being authentic. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. I know this has been a long bonus section, but I promise you guys, this stuff that I've shown you in these 3 bonuses is probably the most valuable in my career. And learn it, know it through every fiber of your being until you know when you should use each one of these methods, or the points on the grid where they cross over, and incorporate it into your life, into your speech, into your brand values, into your purpose, into your why-driven power, and into your painkiller solutions for your market. And your market will love you. They'll learn to know you. Don't even have to sell past that point. You just provide them with the truth about the pain and the solutions that you're providing as a beneficial member of society and an innovator. This is why we call it invention solution, ISDNA. That's the stuff of your painkiller. What is your painkiller's genetic imprint? What is it made of? What does it do for the genes of the market? Okay, so that's really what this is all about. All right, so you are probably ready to move on either to the brain as a refresher at the bottom of this page, or you're ready to move on to the next module. This has been so much fun. I can't wait for you to get started in our practical templates where you can actually start writing your own copy for the products you're selling. I'll see you on the next one.